There is a place on this earth where mud brick skyscrapers have stood for 500 years, where palaces grow directly out of solid rock, where an island exists that looks so alien, scientists still struggle to explain it. This is Yemen, a nation the world knows only through headlines of war and suffering. But behind that shadow, something almost no one has seen. Hidden kingdoms, lost cities, landscapes that shouldn't exist. Today, we cross that threshold and touch the soul of Yemen. And then there is Socotra. Located about 250 kilometers off Yemen's coast, Socotra is one of the most biologically isolated islands on the planet. Scientists have called it the Galapagos of the Indian Ocean. Travelers who have reached it often describe it as another world entirely. And when you see it, that description feels like an understatement. The island hosts roughly 800 species of plants and animals, and an extraordinary number of them exist nowhere else on Earth. Not in a lab, not in a preserve, nowhere else. Just here, on this one island, separated from the modern world by open ocean. Its most iconic site is the dragon blood tree. Its flat, umbrella-shaped canopy spread against an electric blue sky, its bark bleeding deep red sap when cut. It looks like something from another planet entirely. On Shoab Beach, dolphins swim close enough to shore that you could almost reach out and touch them. The sand is white powder beneath crystal water so clear it looks artificial. And behind the beach, those dragon blood trees rise on the cliff tops. The contrast between the two landscapes is extraordinary. That isolation, the very thing that makes Socotra so difficult to reach, is exactly what has preserved it. For researchers, naturalists, and travelers willing to make the journey, Socotra isn't just a destination. It's a reminder that places still exist on this planet where the modern world simply never arrived.
This is Haid al-Jazil, and before you ask, yes, people live here. Built on top of a massive rock formation rising from the mountain floor, Haid al-Jazil is one of the most isolated human settlements on Earth, completely cut off from the outside world. Accessible only by treacherous roads that most vehicles simply cannot navigate. That isolation wasn't an accident. It was the point. The homes here are built from stone and mud brick, thick-walled against the desert heat, arched-roofed against the cold. They've stood for centuries, and in many ways, the life inside them has changed very little. The people of Haid al-Jazil still follow ancient customs, still gather as a community, still maintain traditions that the outside world has largely forgotten or abandoned. There's a strange beauty in a place this cut off. No tourism infrastructure, no roadside stalls, no Wi-Fi. Just stone, sky, wind, and a community that has refused, for centuries, to be swept away. It's one thing to read about human resilience. It's another thing entirely to see it built in stone, on the edge of a cliff, in the middle of Yemen's mountains.
They call it the Manhattan of the desert, and the moment you see it, the nickname makes perfect sense. Shibam. Built over 5 centuries ago in the Hadramaut Desert. An entire city of skyscrapers, 7 to 9 stories tall, constructed entirely from mud brick. Not concrete, not steel, mud. And here's what makes that remarkable. These buildings work. The thick mud walls keep heat out in summer and hold warmth in during winter. A passive climate system baked into the architecture itself. The small, deliberately narrow windows block desert wind and sandstorms, while still allowing air to circulate inside. Even the construction technique is extraordinary. These buildings aren't held together with mortar in the conventional sense. They're formed from tightly compressed mud brick, pressed together so firmly that the structures essentially become single, unified blocks. That's why they're still standing 500 years later. Shibam was once the commercial heart of the Hadramaut region, a thriving trade hub where merchants from across the ancient world passed through. The wealth that once moved through these narrow streets built these towers. Walking them now, that history is everywhere, in the dust, in the worn stone underfoot, in the way the shadows fall between buildings that have been standing for longer than most nations have existed. In the middle of the Hadramaut Desert, far from any road, any settlement, any sign of human life, there is a hole in the ground. Local people call it Bahut Well. Others call it something else. The gate to hell. No one knows exactly how deep it goes. Every attempt to measure it has failed to reach the bottom. And if you stand at its edge long enough, you begin to hear something. A low, rumbling sound rising from somewhere far below. Like breathing. Like something enormous turning over in its sleep. The local communities have kept their distance from Bahut for generations. The belief runs deep that this place houses spirits, that what lives at the bottom of that darkness is not something you want to disturb. Whether you believe that or not is your business. What's undeniable is the atmosphere. The surrounding dunes shift and move, making the approach dangerous. The sounds continue with no clear source. The darkness below absorbs everything: light, sound, certainty. Bahut Well isn't on any tourist map. It's not curated or fenced or labeled. It simply exists, exactly as it always has, as one of Yemen's oldest and most stubborn mysteries. Answering nothing, asking everything. This is Marib, once the capital of the Saba Kingdom, one of the most powerful civilizations in the ancient world.
And standing here, even in ruins, that power is impossible to miss. The Mahram Bilqis temple was a place of worship and power for the Sabaean civilization. According to legend, it was connected to the Queen of Sheba herself, one of history's most enduring and mysterious figures. Whether or not that legend holds, the stone certainly does. These columns have been standing since before most of the world's great empires were conceived. And then there is the Marib Dam. Built in the 8th century BCE, it was one of the most sophisticated irrigation projects the ancient world had ever produced. It didn't just redirect water, it transformed this desert into productive land, sustaining a kingdom, feeding a population, funding an empire. When floods finally destroyed it centuries later, the Saba kingdom began to collapse. The water was everything. The ruins of that dam still stand today, crumbling but unmistakably powerful, like a monument to the ambition of a people who refused to accept that a desert couldn't bloom. Today, Marib still faces the weight of conflict and displacement. But its people, resilient, determined, deeply rooted, remain. They live alongside these ruins not as tourists, but as descendants, the keepers of a legacy that the rest of the world has largely forgotten. That connection between a living community and a 3,000-year-old kingdom is something you feel in Marib, in a way that no museum can replicate. The final stop on this journey is perhaps the most visually stunning of all: Dar al-Hajar, the Rock Palace. Located in Wadi Dar, just outside Sana'a, this palace was built directly on top of a natural rock pillar, using the stone itself as its foundation, its walls, its identity. What began as a summer retreat for a Yemeni imam became one of the most recognizable structures in the entire Arab world. The architecture is a blend, classical Yemeni style meeting influences from across the wider Islamic world. The arched windows, the painted plaster details, the balconies that open onto a view of the entire valley below. It wasn't built to dominate the landscape, it was built to belong to it. From the top, you understand the vision immediately. The valley below is green and soft. The mountains wrap around it like the walls of a natural amphitheater. A breeze moves through constantly. It is, even now, one of the most peaceful views in Yemen. Today, Dar al-Hajar stands as a symbol not just of architectural brilliance, but of the Yemeni spirit itself. A people who looked at a bare rock pillar and saw not an obstacle, but a foundation. Yemen is a contradiction the world hasn't fully reckoned with. A land of immense suffering and immense beauty. A nation fractured by conflict and held together by one of the oldest, most resilient cultures on Earth. Its mud brick skyscrapers were ancient when Europe's great cathedrals were being planned. Its irrigation systems fed kingdoms that have been dust for 2,000 years. Its islands shelter species that exist nowhere else in the universe. This is a place that refuses to be forgotten, no matter what is thrown against it. And somewhere beneath the headlines, beneath the conflict, beneath the silence the world has kept about it, Yemen endures, exactly as it always has. If this journey moved you, if it showed you a Yemen you had never seen before, share it, because the world deserves to know that this place exists. And if you want to keep exploring the most extraordinary corners of this planet, subscribe, because we are just getting started.